Well, thank you. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. My name is Brandy Larkey, and I'm the director of the High Marks program here at Lexington Catholic. This is our 5th year of having a formal program to address conditions that impact learning, like ADHD. We've experienced great success with our student population, and we're hoping to pass along a little bit of that this evening. Tyler Dorsey will be addressing you this evening, and I'll just say a little bit about Tyler. Tyler is a go-getter. She came to me 5 years ago. She was graduating from college, and she was looking for what she was going to do as the next step. And she said, I know, Miss Larkey, you don't have an internship program, but I'd like to do an internship with you. And I said, hey, let's do it. And Tyler and I, from that point on, have taken on other team members and have grown the High Marks program into something that I find is really helpful on a personal level. I came to this part of my career through having a kiddo who is affected by ADHD. And I know that as a kid and as a parent, that can present a lot of struggles. I think what Tyler has to say tonight will help you feel more empowered on several different levels. And I want you at the end to please feel free to ask questions to her. She's really got a lot of knowledge to share. So without further ado, Tyler Dorsey.
We will get this thing started. Thank you. So I'm new to this whole using PowerPoint in a presentation, but I felt it was important. So just bear with me as I try and figure this out. So my name's Tyler Dorsey. Some of you may know me as Tyler Deaton, as I got married this past summer and have had this name change. Still getting used to it, but and I'm here to talk to you tonight about ADHD. What is it? What does it look like? And maybe a little bit about what we can do about it. What strategies do we have? So I want to start tonight by sharing with you my story. Why am I standing in front of you today? When I was in the 5th grade, which was, I don't know how many years ago, I'm 25, so if someone's a mathematician in here, you can let me know. But in the 5th grade, I was diagnosed with ADHD. I remember prior to the 5th grade really struggling with it, and I believe it was actually in 2nd grade, and my 2nd grade teacher, Miss Harned, for any Christ the Kingers we have here, who maybe told my mom about ADHD and that maybe I might have it due to the fact I couldn't sit still. And from 5th grade when I was diagnosed to now, it's been both a struggle and a blessing. And I'm going to share a little bit of both with you today. And I feel like standing in front of you today maybe shows what my blessing is and how it's worked out well for me. So let's back up to the 5th grade and where it all began, or where at least we knew it began. We got a name for it. In the 5th grade, I was diagnosed with ADHD. And I don't remember a lot, but I do remember the first step was starting my medication. I remember we started with Adderall, and 2 weeks later, me, a little tiny 5th grader, had lost 15 pounds. And my parents were like, we can't do this. You have lost way too much weight. We're going to have to switch it. So we switched my medicine to Strattera. I did not in any way, shape, or form like my medicine. It didn't make me feel good, and I think you could tell a huge difference in my mood when I did take it. I don't remember a whole lot from 5th grade to high school other than I always had missing assignments and I was always with my teachers after school. In addition, I was always fighting with my family at home. So then we get to high school. Nothing really changed. We hadn't learned a lot about it. I still didn't know what was going on. I just knew I had this thing called ADHD. And my 4 years in high school were really hard for me. It was hard academically. I really struggled to get missing assignments or any assignments in. Missing because they were never on time. I remember one time I actually read a book, and that was The Outsiders in the 8th grade, and my grandpa came in because I was at their house, and he was like, you've been reading all day. This is the first time I've seen you do anything like this. And I was like, well, this is a great book. And then I don't think I ever picked another one up because it was a big daunting task for me. So between that and then my home life was not amazing because of me. My parents were amazing, but I was picking fights with everybody just because I wanted to. Literally just because I wanted to. I couldn't tell you what the fights were over now. I could tell you that it got so bad that I got my door taken off my room. I wasn't allowed to sleep on my bed. I think I ate grilled cheese for a week, and I wasn't allowed to wear makeup because that was all a, what's the word I'm looking for? No. Yeah, well, that was the consequence because all of that was a privilege. And so for my 16th birthday, I got my door back in a suitcase, if that tells you how well things were going in our house. I mean, I literally remember my dad being like, here you go. And he pulled out the door, and then behind the door was the suitcase. And I was like, what? And he's like, no, go figure out how to put your door on. We're not doing that for you. Then I got to college. And college is where I fell apart the most, but also brought myself back together. And it all happened in one semester. So my first semester of college, I really wanted to be like Abby on NCIS. I really wanted to be a forensic scientist. So I chose the major of forensic chemistry. I took 12 hours, which is 4 classes. And at the end of that year, I failed 3 of the 4 and got a D in the other one. In addition, my social life, I was like drama queen, like literally the queen of drama, not just drama queen, like top, you want drama, come see Tyler. And it was because of my emotions, my impulsivity. I couldn't figure that out. So I'm a drama queen, and I've got this letter that says you have 1 semester to get your stuff together. I had to get a 2.0. Otherwise, I was going to be asked to leave Thomas More College. I'd been put on academic probation, and I had to go from a 1.2 to a 2.0 in a semester. So, over Christmas, and I don't exactly remember how it happened, I just remember being like, medicine. I have this thing called ADHD, let's look at this medicine again. So I spoke with my doctor, and we switched from Strattera to Concerta. I still didn't like it. I still struggled with the medicine. I remember, this is probably TMI, but I was in volleyball practice and I would be gagging because it didn't work well with my stomach. I would literally be running off the court, and then I'd like run back, like I'm going up to block, and then I'd just keep going. Like I couldn't manage it. I would get headaches and I couldn't sleep, but I had to have my medicine so that I could be successful. And that was for me personally. That's what I noticed was the start of changing this game of life for me. So I started taking my medicine, and I switched my major, and I became a psychology major. That was probably a lucky move for me, and I didn't realize it because I was surrounded by all of these people, all of these freshmen who also wanted to be psychologists, and I was their case study. They knew it. They said, you've got ADHD, we can tell, and we want you to be our case study, which worked out well for me because they wanted to learn more about ADHD, and in that case, it was me. I was the walking example in class, which I was fine with. I learned so much about myself. In addition, I had this support system around me. I had these students texting me like, hey, I'm assuming you're probably struggling right now. Do you want to come and work with me? Or they would notice when we're quizzing or when we're studying, this isn't working for Tyler. Let's try telling it to her in a different way. Or if I didn't show up to class, they'd text me and be like, you better get here fast. The teacher knows you're not here. I mean, these people were all over me. It was like I had 30 parents constantly bothering me. And we're talking about like 18-year-olds. Who knew they were that responsible, right? So that's where my story started with success, right? So I graduated in 4 years. In 2014, May of 2014, I graduated college. I ended with a 2.7, which is, quite frankly, was really hard to do and meant I had about a 3.0 or around there the rest of the time at Thomas More. I played volleyball all 4 years, and I worked 40 hours a week. And all of that happened because I chose psychology, and I was surrounded by 30 psychologists, wannabes, right? And they were helping me. They were making sure I was staying on top of it. So that's where my story begins. So I put this picture of my family up here because this was us in high school, and I wanted to give some parents some hope. It gets better. This was last Christmas, and it just happened to be my dad took the right shot at the right time because I'm pretty sure we looked like this when we were trying to take this picture. It doesn't change when you're 25, I promise. I am the oldest of 4, and 2 of my brothers, as well as both of my parents, have joined us tonight. I've got one brother being my little paparazzi back here. Actually, my other brother didn't join. I forgot he bailed last minute. He's a senior in high school. We'll give him a break. So tonight when I talk about ADHD, I'm not only going to bring my story into it, but I also want to leave you with facts. My goal tonight is to give you the facts. What is ADHD? And I'm wanting to, through my story, give you examples of what it might look like. So ADHD, according to the DSM-5, which is basically a huge dictionary with all mental health disorders in it, is a persistent pattern of inattention and or hyperactivity impulsivity that interferes with functioning or development. We're still learning a lot about what causes ADHD. ADHD is very new, and I'm going to get to that in a second, but we do know ADHD is highly inherited. It's not always inherited, but that's where we most commonly see it. So if you go to the stapled packet that you have, if you go to the very last page, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I do think it's important, you'll see something that looks kind of like this. And this is a timeline I got from Lori DePar of ADHD. Looking at it, you will see that in 1980, ADD was first introduced into the DSM-3 at the time. 1980, you guys, right? And it was in 1994 that name changed to ADHD with 3 types. Prior to that, we're looking at feeble-mindedness, right? Minimal brain dysfunction. It was, and quite frankly still is, it was very misunderstood and still has a long way to go in researching and understanding all that it is. So in 1994, ADHD was entered into the DSM-5, or 4 at the time, with 3 presentations. Predominantly inattentive type, predominantly hyperactive and impulsive type, and combined type. This is a lot of words on one PowerPoint, and this is the exact reason I printed them off for you. And I'm not going to go through all of what predominantly inattentive type can look like, but this is, for the most part, what it would look like, how it presents in an ADHD person. And I want to give you some examples. We struggle with attention. Attention does not come naturally for us. And actually, I was watching this video the other day and I really liked what it said, and parents don't run with this and say, see, you need to practice, but attention is practice. Our ADHD skills that we are struggling with, the skills we need to build, it's a practice thing. Like you would practice for a sport, or you would practice your instrument. It's a thing that we need to learn, and it's going to be different for everybody. But attention, and I feel very strongly it is something that's practiced and you get better at it, because I think that's how I practiced and I got better at my attention, right? Along with, for me, medication. So I mentioned I played volleyball. That's me. This is in high school when I played for a club team. And in high school, not so much as college, but in college, I had to take my medicine when I played volleyball. No question about it. I mentioned earlier that it was making me sick, but if I didn't take my medicine, I struggled just as much in volleyball as I did in the classroom. So I made sure, and I worked it out with my doctor, that my medicine lasts me through volleyball practice or a game. So one time, in college, I think it was my sophomore or junior year, I was the starting middle, the big one in the middle there, and we had gone to this tournament. And for whatever reason, if this whole thing is a gym, the court was only on this half. And I remember sitting there And I walked in and I told my coach, I didn't take my medicine. And he was like, I'm sure you'll be fine. You can do it. You'll be fine. And I was like, okay, you're a funeral. So we're practicing and I'm like, this isn't good. I can't even, I cannot focus. I'm like, this is not going to be good, but I'm going to go with it. So they put me in. I start standing at the net. I'm ready to go. And then all of a sudden, this darn toy truck goes across the back of the gym. The ball goes this way, and I'm standing here. It's hit, and my libero gets this huge ball in her face, like bruises. All because I was watching that toy truck. And my coach was like, Tyler! He was like, get out! And they threw someone else in, and I'm like, oh. I was like, I told you. Like, I had to take my medicine. So he was like, all right, go to the bus and get your medicine, and then the second set, we'll put you back in. I was like, okay. So I'm running out to the bus, and it is going down this hill. And I'm like, stop the bus. I'm like crying at this point. I'm like running down the hill. Stop that. But I mean, people everywhere, you guys. And I'm like, I'm literally thinking as I'm yelling, I'm a fool, but if I don't get my medicine, I'm not going back in. So these people stop the bus, and I grab my medicine, and I run back up. I'm still in tears, and I get back up there, and they're like, okay, let's take it, and we'll put you back in the second set. Second set starts, I'm like, I don't need to start. Like, I don't feel ready yet. And I'm still, like, shaken up because I'm like, that bus was going so fast, right? So my coach throws me back in. Like, all right, Tyler, it's time. Bam, I'm back at it. I'm back up to my high percentages with my hitting and my blocking. My libero's face is no longer being injured. She's my friend again. It's great. I'm back at it. And for me, that was because my attention and my medicine was what helped me pay attention. But that attention, man, that red truck got me. And I just remember, like, this kid playing with it. I was like, that would be so fun. Like, you think they would notice if I was gone for 5 seconds? Like, what? My next example is lack of organization. And I think parents and kids, you can all relate to this. That messy room. In high school, my parents said, Tyler, go clean your room. And I would do one of two things. I would either be up there for 3 hours, and they'd come up and be like, what happened? It still looks like this. I'm like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I'm overwhelmed. Or they'd come upstairs, and all of my stuff was shoved under the bed or in the closet. And I was like, they can't see it if it's there. Like, they're not going to look. They looked. So this struggle is still a struggle for me today. As a matter of fact, I mentioned I got married this past summer. We love each other, right? We get married. He's like, this is going to be great. Till death do us part. He's looking at me so lovingly. And my parents warned him. In high school, they ran him off once. And when he came back and asked for my hand in marriage, my dad said, listen, I ran you off the first time to save you, not my daughter. Right? I mean, even as far as my grandpa, who sat there and was like, do you really love my granddaughter? Kyle was like, yes, sir. Well, good luck then. And like walked away. Like, that is what I'm talking about here, right? So we love each other. It's June, it's wedding time. It's going to be great. So I move into our new house about 3 weeks before the wedding. And he throws all of his stuff in there about a week before the wedding. So I'm like, let's just worry about it when we get back. We've got people coming into town. They're going to understand. Let's worry about it when we get back. So we get back, and we're slowly sorting through. And by we, I mean he. Slowly getting through it. And then one night, it was, 6 months after we had moved in, we decided we were going to have people over. And he's like, Tyler, that guest bedroom where we've got all those extra clothes, you need to get that cleaned up. It's all yours. And I was like, but Kyle, I can't. I don't know where to start. I mean, we're talking 3 baskets of laundry here. It's all clothes I don't really know if I need. And he's like, well, just go through it. And he had to leave, and I had 6 hours. And what did I do? I took this picture yesterday. I mean, y'all, I can't. So if we've got anyone out here who's willing to come help a girl out, let me know. It still is so overwhelming for me. The rest of my house is spotless, but I have this darn closet that eats at me every time we have people. I was like, someone's gonna go in that closet. It's like my junk drawer, but bigger. So my husband was, when I put this up and I was practicing, he's like, so why haven't we done this closet yet? Like, Tyler, it's piled up. I mean, we're talking that thing right there is like almost the ceiling. I've got this thing up like this when I can't even get in it. And I was like, well, Kyle, it's overwhelming for me. I was like, I understand it's all clothes and all the clothes go in one spot. But I sit there and there are two things that make me walk away. One, I'm like, how much time is this going to take me? And I'm envisioning hours, and I'm envisioning days, actually. If I'm being serious here, I'm envisioning days, because I can't do it in front of the TV. That's boring, because if I do it in front of the TV, I'll just sit down and get comfortable and watch my TV. I need a list. I need a partner in crime. I need him to sit down and help me put it in piles. And then if I know is it dirty? Does it need to be hung up? Does it need to go to the dry cleaner? Right? Does it need to be folded? Let's not even talk about the folding part. Hanging, you hang it in a closet, but folding, I've got like 10 different drawers these stuff can go in. That's the next thing that overwhelms me. So like, if you tell me where each of these things go, then I'll get it done, but I need your help. And him telling me doesn't have to be him sitting with me, because he doesn't want to sit with me. That is almost all my stuff. And the fact it's been sitting for 6 months makes me think I should just throw it away. But I don't want to. I feel like there's some really nice stuff in there that I just don't remember. But I need help, right? I need a list. I need a checklist saying, okay, first do this. Next do this. Then once you're done with that, let's get this done. Whatever that might be, whatever your order for organization might be, that's what I need, because I'm lacking it. I don't have it. I'm the cooker in the house. And our deal was, if I cook, he'll clean the kitchen. But if I make too big of a mess, I have to help. Okay, it doesn't matter how big the mess is, I'm not helping. Because I'm so overwhelmed. I'm like, these pots are going to take so long to clean. But lately, he was like, okay, why don't we do it together? And let's time it. And let's see how long it's actually going to take you to clean this. And we did it. And I was like, 15 minutes? He was like, a dishwasher. Like, come on now. It's a thing. And so then now, the kitchen, I will just jump in and get it done. If I wake up early, I'll be like, okay, I've got 10 minutes. Let's just get what I can in the kitchen done. But this thing still overwhelms me. I can't touch it. I can't look at it. So let's switch. Predominantly hyperactive and impulsive type. This, I feel, is sometimes a little misunderstood, because when you think hyperactive, you think of that kid bouncing off the walls, the kid who can't sit still. But there are different types of hyperactivity. There's the physical type, like what I just described. There's the verbal type, like that person that can't stop talking. Right? That's me when I call my mom. She's like, all right, Tyler, sounds great. Gotta go, bye. And like hangs up the phone for I can be like, bye, I love you. No, she's done. She knows I'm not going to stop talking. Right? And then there's the mental type. There's that type, and I'm sure there are people in here, when you're hyper-focused and you can't get your brain to turn off, you've got all these great ideas, or you've got something stressing you out, or whatever it might be, and you can't turn the brain off. Well, imagine that, like, all the time. Right? So when we look at hyperactivity, I think it's important to look that hyperactivity doesn't necessarily mean just what you can see. It might be what you hear, or you may not be able to recognize it at all. You may notice they're not sleeping, but why aren't they sleeping? Right? So, I do have a couple examples here as well. Blurts out, that mouth and foot moment. So when I was in high school, I mentioned I played volleyball again, and we had gotten, my junior year, we had gotten this brand new coach. We were all excited. He had worked us so hard over summer. We had done this conditioning, and all of a sudden, it was a week before school in 2 days. It was time for 2 days. So between 2 days, my friends and I decided, let's go to the pool. Let's go hang out. So one of my friends, I hadn't seen much that summer. And so we all went to the pool, and we're getting ready, and we get out there, and I'm like, dude, did you lose some weight? You look so good. She like looks at me. I'm like, what? So then I just sit down, like whatever. And then like an hour later, I try to say something to her, and she's not having it. She's giving me that 16-year-old attitude we all know so well. She's not having it. And I was like, I don't understand what I did. She's like, what do you mean you don't know what you did? I was like, I'm confused. I'm sorry. And so we did what 16-year-old girls do. One in one corner, one on the other side of the pool. Friends going back and forth like, she said this, she said this, she said this, she said this. And I'm like, guys, I don't, like, what is going on? They're like, well, you called her fat. And I was like, what? And I know the way I just now said it is not how it came out of my mouth when I was 16 years old. I am sure it came across like I called her fat. But I remember this moment distinctly because I remember I was so embarrassed. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have hurt my best friend's feelings. And she just thinks I'm terrible. And so I was like, guys, like I didn't mean to say that. I just meant she looked so good. And y'all, like, she looked so good. And she wasn't big before. But those conditionings did something for her. And I remember I was like, I don't know what to do. She's not talking to me. And they were like, well, just give her some time and maybe she'll come to you. Time is not what an ADHD person needs. My brain's like, no, I need it now. I need it now. I need this to be resolved. I'm not patient. But I tried. And some of my friends went down the slide with me at Lansdowne a couple times. Went and played basketball or found some cute boy to talk to, whatever it was. And it was time to go, and I said, hey, can I talk to you real fast? And she was like, no. I was like, I think it's really important we talk before we go back to practice. So she said, okay. And I said, I understand that you think I called you fat. I was like, but that's not what I meant. I just meant to compliment you and say that you look so good. And she was like, well, that's not how it came across. And not just that, you said it in front of like 12 of our friends. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I wasn't thinking, and I just said it. Like, I don't want to go back mad. And I think it really was about a week. She would talk to me. She wasn't being petty, but like I had really hurt her feelings. And that's a great example of that impulsivity that we have. I wasn't thinking. I totally could have worded it better. Granted, we were 16 years old, and if I did that now, someone would be like, thanks, appreciate it. But like at the time, I could have worded it better. But thought out. As soon as I had that thought, it was out of my mouth before I could even think twice. So we both left that day feeling rather embarrassed. I have to touch everything. If I'm not familiar with the space, I'm that person that will like press the big red button and hope nothing happens, right? I can't. I have to touch everything. And it's very obvious. Like if a student comes in my office and they have this new cool toy or a pencil that looks really cool to me, I will literally grab it and play with it. Or I remember when those highlighters came out and the thing was like clear on it, I think I ran it out of ink just because I thought it was so cool. I wasn't highlighting anything. But I have to touch everything. And so this is important because this is where distractibility and a fidgeter, I have to find a way when I have to touch something. I basically just do it unless it really is the big red button. I'm like, it's a kid's pencil. I can borrow it for 2 seconds. They can get it back, or I'll swap them out. They don't need that cool pencil. Heck, I'm 25, they're 16. Who needs that cool pencil? Me. But I have to have a fidget, right? So to try and suppress that feeling of having to like see what it does and touch it, and my curiosity, I have one of these things on my phone. The best part about this is I was with a family the other day. And I was sitting there and I'm playing with this. And it's a daughter and her mom. She's like, see, Mom, she has one too. I'm like, yeah? She's like, my mom hates those. She thinks they're so annoying. And I'm like, I'm really sorry. She's like, no, it's fine. But like, if I had this right here, I would literally play with this for the rest of the presentation. So I'm going to put aside. But I have to have that fidget. Because if I don't get the energy out that's built up, if I don't find a way to suppress that feeling to touch or look at whatever is sparkly, my brain's going to be focused on that for the rest of the time. Anything you say isn't even going in one ear and out the other. It is just stopping right here. So to help our students and me with that, in this case, I got one of those pop socket things. But for our students, I have a load of stress balls in my office. I say, I want you to go grab one. I write on it, if they throw this, everyone in the class gets a detention. Because in that case, they're not going to throw it, right? But I give them out. And I mean, we're talking about boys who throw anything and everything that's in front of them. Pizza. There was this one boy, specifically I gave it to, and for those Lexington Catholic people here know we had Spirit Night that one night. All the kids came, it was a big carnival we threw, and one of the boys at the end of the night, we'd given out whatever pizza we had left over, and they threw the whole darn pizza up in the air. Why? He was curious what was going to happen. That same boy has a basketball-looking stress ball. Hasn't thrown it once. Because he knows he has to have that out in the classroom. He knows that if he doesn't play with that stress ball, he's going to be up, fussing with the blinds, walking around the class, asking random questions. That stress ball makes a world of difference for this student. That stress ball, actually, I was giving a presentation at the beginning of this year to some of our faculty, and I actually played with the stress ball the whole time because I was like, I know them well enough. They know I fidget. No need to try to suppress that and pay attention to what I'm saying right now. I practiced this a lot because I didn't want to have a stress ball. Like, I practiced this. My poor husband knows this inside out now. So now that I've talked a little bit about what ADHD is, what it can look like, and given you some examples, I want to go a little further into who can diagnose ADHD. There are really about 5 options of people, professions, who can diagnose ADHD. The psychiatrist, the psychologist, your family doctor, a nurse practitioner, and a neurologist. Just because they can diagnose ADHD does not mean they can do everything. And depending on where you go, some may do a better job of vetting out what's going on, of giving you an evaluation than others will. For example, in Lexington specifically, there are some family doctors who may just write you a note and say, like, we've gotten it on a prescription pad before, and it literally says this child has ADHD. But then if you go to a psychiatrist or some of the psychologists here in town, you're going to get 20, 30 pages of information telling you what's going on and what that looks like and why your student might be struggling with this. And that information is the information that can really help for you to know what we need to do. You as parents, us as professionals, what we need to do to help your child overcome some of their struggles due to ADHD. So I mentioned that not everybody who can diagnose ADHD can do everything, and I want to give you some examples. Therapy. Your general doctor, your family doctor, or a neurologist cannot provide you with therapy if you have ADHD and you choose that path. However, a psychiatrist or a psychologist can. Medication. The psychologist cannot prescribe medication, but they can provide you with therapy, and some here in town can provide you with a very, very good evaluation. So if you're looking for a one-stop shop, so to say, you might want to look at who can do what, right? Who can offer you the whole package. For example, a psychiatrist is the most commonly known profession that can offer you the whole package. They can prescribe medication, they can provide therapy, and they can also give you a good evaluation. So I felt like that was really important for me to share with you. With ADHD comes comorbid conditions. I have a pamphlet up here. For those who got it, it looks like this. For those who didn't, it's actually really good information and might help you out. A comorbid condition with ADHD, we're talking 2/3 of people diagnosed with ADHD also have a comorbid condition. And that is a large chunk. And when I say comorbid condition, I'm specifically talking about things like anxiety or depression, learning disabilities, oppositional defiant disorder, right? There's a whole slew of them. I mean, this offers a lot of perspective on what a comorbid condition might look like and what they are. 50% of people diagnosed with ADHD also have a learning disability. Half of the people with ADHD have a learning disability. 40% of people with ADHD have oppositional defiant disorder. So this is why I feel these statistics, and these are only a couple. There were many, many more I could have picked from. But these just show how important it is, and this is how important it is to get a good evaluation, which is why when we go back to the psychiatrist, psychologist, those type of people, sometimes nurse practitioners give great evaluations, but really vet out the person you're going to, who is going to provide you that. Because if we know there's a comorbid condition, we're going to tackle that before we touch ADHD and what's going on with that. If you're a child, for example, or you have depression, we're gonna make sure that's taken care of, because that will get in the way of ADHD and whatever we try to accomplish in terms of overcoming ADHD. So that is why it is so important to make sure we do have a good evaluation. We do have the big picture of what is going on. And finally, I want to talk with you a little bit about what ADHD treatment can be. There are a couple options I've put up for you, and I am sure there are more. These are the most common. Medication, I mentioned today, that was my personal choice. I feel like ADHD coaching is at the bottom, but I feel like all my mini psychologists I was surrounded by in college, honestly, they did more ADHD coaching for me. They weren't sitting there giving me therapy. They were giving me skills. They were helping me build skills, which is why I'm standing here today, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing. But there's your medication option, and that's not for everybody, and we understand that. So there are natural treatment options. CogMed and Learning RX. Those are brain training programs, right? It's like going to the gym for your brain kind of a thing. That's how one family described it to me, at least. Kid said his brain hurt real bad afterwards, and I was like, what does that mean? Right? A well-balanced diet, so important. I eat sugar, probably more than I should, but I do try to watch my sugar and caffeine when I've got to do stuff like this, or when I've got to stay focused because I know half of my kids have tests today, and I'm going to have to calm them down or make them focus, whichever way, right? Exercise. Exercise is great for those hyperactive, whether it's a hyperactive mind, mouth, or physically. It's great. It gets that energy out. My mind gets a turning. And when I'm thinking, like, I think I've woken up like 5 o'clock in the morning the past 2 snow days because of this. And I'm like, I have all these thoughts. I could do this, I could do that, and it wouldn't stop. So exercise. I woke up this morning and I was thinking, and then 7 o'clock rolled around and I was like, let's just jump on the treadmill. And I did, and before I knew it, my thoughts were clear and I was getting my day started, getting this organized. Therapy and counseling. Therapy and counseling can be great, especially when you have a comorbid condition. When we have something, another condition that we need to really work through and figure out with somebody before we can tackle ADHD. It's also great for ADHD, and a lot of people choose that path. And then finally, we have ADHD coaching, which is so very new. I'm sure there are people sitting here today like, what is that? And I describe it as like any coach, like you're coaching, like you're a life coach, coaching for a sport, whatever it is. I'm helping you build skills. We're going to talk through and figure out what do we need to do to get better at whatever we might be struggling with. ADHD coaching has only been around for about 15 years. Many of the older ADHD coaches, the ones who've been in business for 15 years, started as life coaches and noticed they were working a lot with people with ADHD, and it kind of transpired from there. So, I hope that today was really good. I hope you were able to learn something new you maybe didn't know about ADHD. I do realize there's a need to educate and to continue to talk about what can we do. And I do plan to give future presentations or workshops that do help offer those tools to a group. But today I really wanted to give you a foundation. I wanted to leave you with basics, because sometimes I think that step is overlooked. We overlook the learning what it is and we jump straight to let's come up with a solution.
I would like to thank you for listening to this presentation today. If you would like to get a hold of me for questions or to inquire about my services, you can see my contact information on the last PowerPoint slide. Please take a moment to take the survey and let me know what you think of this PowerPoint and what you would like to hear about in the future.